Actually getting married, a lot of times people come up with the assumption of they know the person, but they're actually stepping into an unknown territory.
One of the primary challenges is expectations mismatch. They cannot deal with how, when one is changing, the other one is not keeping up.
First, opening the doors for high quality people to find you. And for that to happen, you have to become them. And from their point of view, look at, are you high quality enough? When I say feminine, but bring out the feminine nature, one of the most important thing is care. Is she becoming more caring to a family when everything is right? They don't necessarily want to go to the next level. They don't necessarily want to improve on their abilities. And I think when that happens in a marriage or in a relationship, that's very dangerous.
Sari ga ma gari pa ma gari da pa ma gari sari ga ma gari ni sa the ANH podcast.
So, welcome to today's episode of this podcast, and we are excited to talk to you about what's happening in the world that so many people are struggling to find a life partner. Why are they not able to get married, and why are relationships failing? Like, there are so many people who've come to us, are married, but they don't sleep in the same room anymore. Even if they sleep in the same room, they're no longer a couple together. There's so much distance, and within the same house, not talking to each other, and sometimes just staying together for the sake of the society. What's going on? Why do we see such a rampant increase in the number of people who are genuinely struggling to find a life partner? And what is going on that so many relationships actually struggle? So we're going to talk about some of these things from our experiences in turning around these situations for people and helping people find high quality life partners, as well as in fixing broken marriages that at the door, like just before their divorce was filed, they turned around and they love each other. So what is going on? What is going on, Harini?
So much has changed in the context of relationships over the generations, and I'm just amused as to how we've met people in who are like 70 years old. We've met people who are kids, and we've met like people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, some unmarried, some in terrible marriages. One of the primary challenges is expectations mismatch, and second is they cannot deal with how, when one is changing, the other one is not keeping up with the rate and speed at which they're changing or the direction they're taking in their lives. Because when people find partners and when they get married or when they're dating, that zone and how much in alignment the two seem, I don't think most people are able to future pace what will life be like with this person, or rather from that state of a high that they may be in initially when there is attraction with someone, and when they're like seeing life with that person, they're just imagining the perfectly beautiful rosy life perhaps, but it doesn't turn out to be that way. And for a bunch of others, I just think they have evolved sometimes to a point where they're just struggling to find context where they can meet someone who's as evolved as them. What do you think?
In the traditional setup, when people married to someone recommending from the society, from a close group, or even in certain countries where the parents see the potential partner, in a traditional setup, the understanding, the implied presupposition is that you don't know the other person. So they spend the next few years trying to understand each other. They try to spend that time. What does it mean to each other? The different things they do. What are their values? What drives them? How can they be continue to be attractive and desirable to the other person? So they tend to continue to discover these things. And then they suddenly have this realization, oh my God, we're such two different people. And now they're committed, so they figure out, okay, we are two different people. How do we now come to a common space? How do we still stay together and show love to each other? And how do I have to change myself? Where is the middle ground? And then they plan like a future together, and by around this time there's a child, and now they have a common goal, which is like raising the child together. And now we're moving away from the traditional setup because of so many different things. And there are advantages to it because you kind of get to know the person before you get married. But also, there are assumptions that come with it. And the biggest assumption is that you know the person. Because it doesn't matter how long you date, how long you've been with the person you know, you know them outside of family setup. You know them outside of taking a shared responsibility to build a future together. So when you're actually getting married, a lot of times people come up with the assumption of they know the person, but they're actually stepping into an unknown territory. But the difference in the traditional setup and what's happening today is that people assume they know. In the traditional setup, the assumption was, I don't know the other person. We just met. So now people think they know the other person, and they build their relationship on assumptions. And what happens is there's a communication that doesn't happen between each other. They misunderstand intentions, and now because they have loved each other for so long, or they've dated each other for so long, and now they've gotten married, they learn to tolerate it. So first of all, there is an assumption and a misunderstanding, and then on top of it, they misunderstand the intent. And when they misunderstand the intent, they think they have to tolerate with that set up. And then what happens is it slowly starts to build the distance. It's a lot of things that people tolerate, they don't recognize. It comes at a cost. The cost is distance. The cost is coldness. The cost is, and it's slowly beginning to
That's a
build.
dangerous part. The fact that it happens so slowly and people don't recognize
Yeah.
when that fabric of marriage is actually changing, or even a relationship, when the fabric of that relationship is changing, I don't think they recognize it.
Yes. Most times I've noticed that if a marriage is not evolving, if the closeness, if the common grounds, if where you're heading towards as outcomes in your life together, if it's not evolving, it's degrading. And I really think there are only like two possible things, like it's getting better or it's getting worse. And I don't think complex systems stay as they are. They get better or they get worse. Because by design, we improve the things. When you live in a house, you keep upgrading it. It's the human nature to naturally make things better. And if two people are married and it's not improving, it's not getting better, if the natural thing is to get better is not happening, then there's something going on. There's something pushing it back from becoming magical, from becoming even better than how it was earlier. And if that's happening, then it means that something is wrong. And a lot of times when we've turned around marriages for people, what we've noticed is they come in and they say everything was fine. Everything was normal until one suddenly we discovered we don't like each other, or the person said he doesn't like me, or she said she's always had this. And the reason people can say that is because it was getting worse in the background and they just didn't know it. So it all starts with, when people come together, they starting with the assumption they know each other. So they're not paying as much attention to individual desires, to individual wants and needs, and as much as people used to do when they married strangers. Because obviously, you're marrying a stranger, you want to know them. And what if in the current setup, people can maintain that same curiosity? What if, even if you've dated someone for 10 years and you married together, you can still maintain that curiosity as if it was an arranged marriage, like as if this is a new person you walked into the house? And when we do our work with people, like in our ecosystem, we do something called as an ATC, where someone comes in and we find out accelerated time compression for them. These are the capabilities and these are the things that you need to evolve for them. These are the opportunities for them to get to the next level. And then when we see them 6 months later, they are a different person. So the person who came in to you first is not the same person you're meeting after 6 months. So when you do an ATC for them, you don't keep the things in mind that you did for them first. You look at them as if they're a completely new
New person.
person, like with fresh eyes. I think something similar happens before marriage and after marriage. It's not the same individuals. From most people, they're two very different people. So I think if people can maintain that curiosity to start, the curiosity and the flexibility, when people for hundreds and thousands of years could come into a marriage and then say, okay, we understand we're different people, but how do we now make this work? I didn't know this about you, but now how do we make this work? If people can say that for in an arranged setup, why cannot people say that in a love marriage? Why cannot people say that when they are dating someone and getting married? They surely can. But I need to get into the marriage knowing that I know this person, I think I know this person, but there's a lot I'm going to discover about this person after my marriage. And not because this person was lying, but because people go through phases. People go through contextually, when responsibilities come, they change their behavior and their preferences change. The things that, were top priority earlier might become low priority now. How do we still be the most important thing for each other?
And that's the hardest thing to adapt to, right? Change.
Yeah.
Because it's possible that sometimes one person might look at change as a bad thing. Now, okay, changes, the person may have changed for the good or for the bad, or maybe in certain aspects they've changed for the good, in certain aspects they've not changed for the good. But this expectation that they've got to be a particular way, or this is the person that I married, and you've changed into someone that I don't accept or recognize anymore. How does one deal with that contrast, especially because this happens so slowly and they're not recognizing it when it's happening? And then when they suddenly wake up, it's like almost they see two pictures in their mind: the one that they imagined that they got married to, thinking that this is the person that I got married to, versus the person that they now perceive the other person to be, like how their perception of the other person. It's like a contrast that almost feels unacceptable, and then they feel sad and they feel stuck, or they feel like really really stuck when they see the two contrasting revelation. So how does a person deal with that if they've come across a situation like 5 years or 10 years into marriage or after a child? There's just so many
yeah, they keep
questions.
comparing. Oh, before, when we were dating, it was this person, and now he's like this. So I would say that you got to start early instead of waiting for that contrast to be that strong. What if right from the day you're married, you're curious, you're continuing to be curious? And I think curiosity can save marriages if you genuinely try to understand what is going on. Curiosity and flexibility, knowing that there have to be a common ground. Some people either overgiven, like they go all the way out, oh, let me make all the sacrifices. And then what happens is at some part they feel like they're not themselves anymore. And then what happens is they become less interesting, they become less attractive, they become less boring, and suddenly the partner doesn't find them interesting anymore. They're there for the moral reasons, they stay together, they still have dinner or lunch together, but there's no joy in those conversations because the other person is suddenly not able to relate to this person, and this person thinks that they gave all in by, and what they really managed to do over a few years is they've lost themselves. They are no longer the same person. So I think finding common grounds where you agree, where it's fascinating, interesting to you, where you evolve together a better person, when you're impacting life, when impacting the society, or you're just improving your artistry. Imagine someone gets married and the other person's artistry goes like way off the roof. Now, this person doesn't have to stay in the same art. But when an artistry goes up, the kind of conversations and the way, the angles in which you think changes. But let's say the other person doesn't improve their artistry. Suddenly one of them is going to become a little more boring to the other person.
Yeah.
Or at least one layer becomes a little boring. So I think it's important for people to evolve together, to have like common grounds, and to not wait till you notice a stark difference. So one of the things that surprises me in our programs is like suddenly a person would come and they would come with like all sorts of problems, like things that they think are unsolvable, and then we help them get over it, and then they disappear, and then they come after like 2 years and with another set of problems. And I'm always puzzled. I ask them, well, we helped you with things that were difficult. You got the results. Why did you disappear? They said everything was right in my life. And I realized that for a lot of people, when everything is right, they don't necessarily want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to go to the next level. They don't necessarily want to improve on their abilities. And I think when that happens in a marriage or in a relationship, that's very dangerous.
I love the like especially in all of the evolution tracking that we do for our participants these days, we look at every area of their life and we've come up with a variety of different parameters as to what is your life situation in that context right now. Are you in a crisis? Are you just out of crisis? Are you, stable? Or are you in like a space where everything is good and you're ready for the next level? And for everybody, like in various contexts, we've also shown them that there is this, and then there is this, and then there is this, and then there is this, that there's various levels of excellence you can get to in every context. And I didn't know until recently, because these are not things that are written in a book that you can read as well, right? Because these are things that we get when we work with people, and like you just
You didn't
described
know that the
this
people didn't know that at every level there is another
as
level.
at another
So,
level.
so it
And
was very surprising. Why isn't this person is already paid for it? The problems are solved. They're happy. Why did this person disappear for 2 years? They could have come. They've already paid for it.
they would have got their next cycles of
Yeah.
evolution.
Why
That
why come back when there is a problem? Why
problem.
not aspire to get? And I think that's a great attitude to have for a relationship. Is can you every 6 months look at your relationship and say, has it gotten more magical than it was 6 months ago? And if it isn't, as I said, as humans we desire to make things better. Even if you just have a workspace, you have a small cabin, you make it better. It just gets better every day. Like how much more important, not a car. People buy a car and then the first year is vanilla, then they have this, the
Upgrades.
upgrades and stuff like that. So how much more and how important is a marriage and a partner, a relationship? So it has to continue to get better.
Onus of being interesting
Yeah.
and attractive,
Yeah, continuing to.
continuing to be, that has to be on both the partners.
Yes.
And worst comes to worst, like worst case, let's say one person has forgotten to be interesting. I think if the other person is flexible enough and has developed the capabilities to lead delightfully, then it's possible to, uplift. And we've seen that happen in a lot of couples where we worked with, where the one person has come and then they feel like it's impossible to bring the other person, but we still help the one person who's come to us with so much personal evolution that they are able to go back into that same difficult situation and steadily turn things around. Now in some cases maybe we've helped them be more assertive.
In fact, most of the people who come to us, they first come individually and then we help change them and their partner through them.
Right.
So it's like imagine if you have to paint a house and all you have is access to a window. And that's kind of what we pull through, because when you're helping marriages succeed, sometimes it's the partner, sometimes it's the children, sometimes it's the entire ecosystem, and you have access only to this human being. But it's interesting because it's possible that if one person can change, the entire family and ecosystem can change. Now, it doesn't mean that one person changes and the other person doesn't have to change. What it means is that when one person changes, they can change in a way that it causes a change in the other person. But that person has to be able to hold the frame strong. They need to have incredible state choice. They need to be able to drive joy and emotional intimacy, and at the same time drive boundaries. So it's really high level capabilities for someone to be able to change their ecosystem by just the change that they bring in themselves.
And we've seen that happen literally all the time when people come in, and how they're able to, in addition, because we always believe in integrated life outcomes, which means we're not going to obscurely increase your capabilities in one area without it having an ecological impact on the other. So we're looking at polycontextual capabilities that'll help across all aspects. And what kind of capabilities can we develop for you in this context, and what's the impact it's going to have in another context? As we do this for people, where they develop the predictive intelligence, the wisdom of recognizing that true happiness comes from evolving in all areas of your life. And a lot of times people feel like my relationship is not good because I'm not doing well in my career, or because I don't have money. That's why there's strain in the relationship. So if I get the money piece right, then everything will get sorted. But we know that that isn't true. I mean, it's like, just because they get more money, it doesn't solve the basics of the relationship that has
I
actually
think
gotten
time and
strained.
money are both amplifiers.
That is so true.
And
Yeah.
it was so well evidentially demonstrated during pandemic, because for a long time I knew money was an amplifier. If you can't give for charity in the $10 that you earn, you won't be able to give to charity even if you earn $1 million, because your expenses and the kind of struggle will only amplify the things that you do for the society, the things you do for your house, the things that you do for yourself. If you're not able to do it in the money that you already have, then when you get more money, it generally amplifies the situation. It doesn't solve it. We always knew that for our participants too. But what the pandemic demonstrated is that time is also an amplifier. If people waste time and they're on social media instead of being with their family or helping their organization, instead of taking on responsibility, if they get more time, they're going to do more of that and not necessarily more of what builds the family, what builds the organization, what builds their career. We've seen so many people who are building themselves when they have like a job from 9 to 9, and then they go back home and then they're learning a new skill, they're building themselves, and suddenly when they get free in the business, they are using that time to build themselves more, they're using the time with their family. So but on the other hand, when someone is just whiling away their time, like things that don't build them up, in fact it degrades them, it can be any number of things. But what happens when people do that is that even when they get more time, it only accelerates the situation, it amplifies the situation. So I think time and money are both amplifiers. You were saying that people say that if this is sorted, I'll have more time and thereby the relationship will be better. But often, if a relationship is toxic, if it's not good, if it's not nurturing, if it's not building each other, then maybe time and money are not the problems. They're just what is taking the blame. But the reality is there's something at the core of the individuals that need to get better.
But that's often a blind spot, right, for most people.
Yeah, and the fact that they don't have time and money is a blessing, because because imagine if they are really amplifiers, and if the relationship is toxic, and we saw that in the pandemic. So many divorces and so many bad relationships, and we were like, weren't you guys better off before like the pandemic? Yeah, because we didn't have to spend so much time, and when
I've also seen this happen a lot after people get retired.
yeah.
And then they suddenly leave living with each other all the time. And then they just like suddenly can't stand each other. And it's like, how is this even possible? Because haven't you guys been married for like 30 odd years? And how are you suddenly realizing that like you can't deal with each other? And it's just that they've each been so busy, and or then they've, or together all of the attention has gone into raising the child. And now the child is grown up, the child has gone out to study, and most times they're abroad and things like that. And then now the two people, they're stuck with each other. They don't have the habit of mutually evolving the relationship, and they've gotten to a space where like they're like literally feel trapped in the same house and don't know what to do with each other, or they're waiting for the other person to go out, to have some breather of a space of, okay, let him go out, I'll have some free time, or let her go out, I can, do some of the things that I want to. And I think even more crazy, right, to
So it
like
may
wake up
appear
at
like
65.
things changed after retirement, but it was always the case.
That's
It
right.
was just as an amplified because you didn't have the time.
Time
Therefore,
to actually be around each other and recognize
so if
what's happening.
something can be fixed, it can be fixed even when there's no time and when there's no the money. So, honey, I want to talk to the audience a little bit about expectations, and I want to talk about high quality men, high quality women, low quality women, because a lot of people who we have helped get married, they were searching for the wrong type of partner in their head, or
Absolutely.
they were searching for the right kind of partner being the wrong person, and we had to help them change and see that gap, because there is a price to pay. High quality stuff comes with price. You come for a high quality program, you pay a high cost. You want a high quality furniture, you pay a high cost. You want high quality house, you pay a high cost. There is a cost. So I want to talk to the audience a little bit about expectations, and the high quality partner comes with high cost. Now, we're not talking here about maintenance, like, high maintenance. We're not talking about like buying expensive things.
Dowry.
Yeah, we're not talking about those kind of stuff. Those are surface
Yeah.
things. In fact, people try to do that, it doesn't work. We're talking about the real cost of being in a high quality marriage. a high quality relationship.
So, what is a high quality man at now?
So I remember this consultation that we did for a girl very recently, and she was getting these profiles, and outright, people would just like first time meet her or like just get on a video call, or just her recent photo they would see, and they would then her parents are desperately searching, her ecosystem was searching, she was searching, and people, she wouldn't even get on dates because she'd say the guys who are approaching her are the kind she doesn't want to date. And she was finding it so hard to get married. And today she says that there are so many high quality prospects, and she's excited to one by one meet them and see if it works out. When I first told her about high quality men finding you when your vibe changes, her objection was maybe that could have been true if I met them and then they rejected me, but they're not even meeting me. And I said, well, that's the thing about high quality men, is that they would intuitively know if you are going to be their match or not. And they're not even going to come out and meet if they don't see that in you. Because a high quality man is going to have high quality expectations. So let's say the girl wants someone who is high quality, like, knows what he wants to do in life, is genuine, can have conversations, is also a leader of people, like in his circle or her circle,
Has done something with their lives.
has done something with their life, is able to establish good friends and close connections, has people who trust them and they have people they can trust on, and is not just like grazing around every woman that he sees and centering his life around women, because a lot of guys do that. And yeah, and you see that even after getting married, sometimes what happens is a girl walks into an office, suddenly the guy wants to go sit next to her and form a connection, and they talk to another girl, they take a girl with them because they understand now the social setup in which a couple of girls with you all the time makes it easy for you to approach girls. So you can spot these people from far. You can see people who are grazing around, they're shy, but every girl that walks in, there's an image that goes in their head about being together. And you can also spot men who advanced in this, they play the system well. But to me, both categories are low quality. Like there's always grazing, always looking for. And you could see that, and you could even predict this when you watch them watch videos, when you watch them watch movies, when you watch them watch phones. You kind of see that there is an association. What I'm saying is, I'm not talking from a moral ground. Also, I'm talking from the point of view of just imagine how inferior the man has to be inside of him for him to not know the girl at a deeper level and is still excited by her presence. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about, this is not a moral education podcast, but we're talking about practically, just from an ATC thinking, how inferior should someone feel that they're excited by just the presence of a girl. It doesn't matter what kind of a person she is, what is her values, what is her belief, what kind of thinking does she come from. And that to me is a low quality man. Not having any expectations from the women in the ecosystem, the girls that come in, and is able to still deal with them nice. There are a lot of people who say that the women get attracted to people who treat them badly or like a jerk. And you see a lot of examples of that. And the women really there is responding to is the honesty of the person in not caring or not expecting something back. Because when like a low quality man is being nice to the women, he's generally nice because he's expecting something back. And sometimes high quality men get misunderstood. They're just nice because that's how they are to everybody. And then because sometimes low quality women have had so many experiences with men like that, with low quality men, they think, oh, this guy also wants something from me in return. The good thing about a high quality man is he doesn't care. His nature doesn't change by what people around him assume about him. He is focused, he's high value, he's relating only to the women who are high value. He's evaluating, qualifying them based on their values, their beliefs, and then decides, do I want to be with this person? Do I want to explore a relationship with this person?
Professionally, he can relate to everybody.
Professionally, yeah. We're talking the
Equally.
dating. We're
Yeah.
talking about professionally.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, these high quality men, when they're meeting women professionally, even if they find the woman very attractive, the relationship that they have is professional.
Yes.
Is they are sticking to the context of what it
In
is.
fact,
that
a high
makes it.
quality man does professional justice to a woman, because what happens is a lot of women women, especially beautiful and attractive women, pass up to a particular level in a lot of their careers in the corporate because there are weak men at the bottom. So what happens is just the presence of an attractive girl makes their brain go weird. And a lot of times you see that they don't have a sexual interest in her, but they're biased towards her. And there are studies that show when women are beautiful, men are biased. A high quality man does not let her beauty affect him. So what happens is it does a disservice to the women, because what happens is they get to a particular position easily. And then from there on to up, they have to have the same competition as the people who got there on full merit. So now the gap for them is big. And it was not their mistake that they were biased and got into the up. It is the mistake of the weak men, like who were biased because there was just someone attractive. So even in the professional context, I think a high quality man and a low quality man, there is a difference, because a high quality man is able to treat attractive women equally. The high quality men are not like bothered by the opinions. They are continuing to treat people well, and they're continuing to be nice and genuine, and is not affected by the presence of a girl in the room. They choose and qualify who they want to pursue. That is a very important character of an high quality man.
They choose and qualify the
Yeah.
person that they want to pursue. And this
Yeah.
is an internal thing.
Yeah.
They're doing this internally. Like, what are your standards of who do you even consider
Yeah.
wanting to date,
Yeah.
and for what reasons?
Yeah.
And I think that is also something that is a differentiator, right, between
Yeah.
a high quality person, man or woman, and a
Yeah.
low quality person, man or woman, is
Yeah.
how are you qualifying? Should I go on a date with this person or not?
Yeah.
From what space is that coming?
It's very hard to find high quality men. And that is my opinion on this entire thing. It's very, very difficult to find a high quality man. And it's very difficult to find a high quality woman. I'm going to ask you, what do you think a high quality woman is soon? So what happens is, when you find a high quality man who has like a passion, who has a vision, who's ambitious, who can take care of his family, who has the leadership to have people with him, and who is also not driven by just the looks and beauty. It was very surprising. I was once with a group of girls for dinner, and they were just talking amongst themselves, and they were telling me a story about how she she had a desire, much before she found a man, to kiss a random person in France under the Eiffel Tower. And they were talking as if, she could just go ask any man and he would go and kiss her. I realized that they hadn't met a high quality man until then. They didn't know that there are men who would tell her, I don't know you. I'm not going to come and kiss you in the Eiffel Tower, even though that you desire and have this fantasy, once in a lifetime fantasy. So the conversation was as if, because she was a very attractive girl, the conversation was as if she could just go meet
She could
any
just
guy
get anybody to do that.
and then fulfill her dream of whatever she was thinking at that time. So I think, and the reason that happened is because they don't meet high quality men, and they just meet people. And most attractive girls, they know, because they're being hit on from age like 12 or 13. So by the time they're 24, they know, and they work with the assumption that they can get any man that they want. And so what happens is, it becomes very difficult for them to change the mindset that there are some people who are different. And I think these kind of high quality men come with a cost. Because now think about this, they're ambitious, they have a group of people around them, they have a community, they have a tribe, they are driven, they are dedicated, they're honest, they are speaking their mind, and they can make a woman feel great. And I think that's another important thing about a high quality man, is that they can make a person feel great. Different people can do that in different ways, by their gestures, by the way they speak, by the way they think through and taking care of things before they happen. They can do all that. So the demand generally is very high. You're going to find, very rarely are you going to find somebody who's high quality. If you're going to find high quality, you got to pay the price. Now, what does a high quality man want? Like, if you think of someone like that, what would they want? They're not going to want to be treated like a dog. And a lot of times for this particular girl that we help, they see movies and they see these things, they see episodes, or they talk to their friends, and they have this puppy dog expectations from the man. And sometimes they even do this, throw certain tantrums, they show certain things just to see if the guy is bendable, like malleable. Now, and sometimes this becomes cultural expectations because they see all of their friends do that. And what happens is the man can sense it. He's not even going to go on a date with this girl. He's going to block her off, like. And that's what happened. So when we met this girl, and you were there in the consultation too, and we told her that if she wants a high quality man, she has to pay the price. There are certain things he's not going to do for you, and there are certain things he's going to want you to do. And a high quality guy is going to be family oriented. There are certain things he wants to have in a family. And she was like so conflicted about some of these things. And then I said, how important is it that you find a person like this? And just when you paint the picture of a high quality man, I've seen most time women are willing to pay the price. And a lot of times they're not willing to pay the price because their reference of a man is the friend's boyfriend, is, because they're all dating low quality men. They don't even have that high quality reference. And you paint the picture of a high quality man in their life, and suddenly, they drop all of those items on the checklist and negotiation points and bargains, and now they're willing to pay the price. And then I said, if that's the kind of person you want, these are the things that, because this girl had a strong objection to the concept of a family. And I said, which high quality man is going to come to you? And we sorted out her objections, and she was willing to pay the price. Now, of course, she didn't have to struggle to pay the price. She just had to go through personal evolution where all of this feels natural and desirable in the first place. The interesting thing about paying the price is it looks like you're paying a price, but in reality, you're like paying yourself a gift, because a lot of things that feels like a cost, feels like a compromise to get into a high quality marriage is not a compromise. It's actually going to enhance the experience for you in the long run. But in the beginning, for her, it looked like for me to get leverage, I had to show like this high quality man and then say, now are you willing to pay the price? And she said yes. There are certain things that she really had objections against, which now she realizes are good for her, and we helped her through that personal evolution. And what happened is a vibe change, the way she looked changed. The first instance, now when she goes into certain meetings and gatherings, there are people who come to her friends and say, can you introduce me to her? And even in the arranged marriage setup, the profiles are going through, and now she's actually meeting high quality men. This is how it works, that if you change into a high quality man, you're likely to meet high quality girls. And if you change into a high quality girl, you're likely to meet high quality men. So, and how do I define high quality? Again, this is not a moral class. So the way I define high quality is, think about your ideal man that you want and get into his perceptual position. And what he expects is the price you have to pay for that. So for him, a high quality girl is what he expects. For you, a high quality man is what you expect. Like, what are non-negotiables? Like, if you could have everything that you desire is like there in that person, and if you call that your high quality man, now get into that person's perceptual position. Like, as them, think who would be high quality woman for such a person. And that's the same thing I ask guys too. Like, you want a high quality girl, because a lot of times when you talk to a high quality man, they have a combination of everything. They want like someone who's intelligent, they want someone who is independent, who's still family oriented, who is beautiful and attractive. And when you want all of these things, when you think of her that particular way, and you become her, and if you have a reference of a person like that, become her, and think about who would be high quality for her that she's looking up to. And that's the thing about high quality. It's like not generic high quality. It's not a definition of this high quality. Make an idea of what is high quality for you that you're looking up to. And if you become that person, what is high quality for that person? That's who you have to become. And if you could become that person, now you have high quality match. The thing that I've noticed is when you become that person, the potential partners find you. They always do. And then it's just about choosing and deciding at a particular time, this is the person for me. Sometimes you choose based on the circumstances. Sometimes you choose based on meeting a few people, and you may have to pick. But it always comes to first opening the doors for high quality people to find you. And for that to happen, you have to become them. And from their point of view, look at, are you high quality enough? So for men, I think in the past, what we've noticed, what helps men get to high quality maturity is letting go of their addictions, developing passion towards life, going towards a goal, stopping this act of self pleasuring. It's a very horrible thing, because when they do that, they're actually imagining either pornography or they're imagining other girls in their head. So what happens is, whenever they meet people in the world, they start checking them out. And checking girls out is a very low quality behavior. It's not high quality men. High quality men don't check out every girl they meet. They check her nature, just like they would check the nature of a man. You might think you do it in private, but what happens when people self pleasure is that thing that they're doing in private, that imaginations that they're running in their head, it starts happening and you can notice it. And a woman may not notice it consciously, but she unconsciously knows you're checking out. And when you walk into a room, most men have to check out all the girls in that room, and that's very low quality behavior. And they may not even do it consciously.
Yeah.
It just
And I think a
happens.
lot of this starts in school and college when girls are just beginning to develop, and the guys are also like just, like they're crossing that age where they're becoming aware even more of the differences between, boy and girl. And there's this sense of physical attraction and the attention to the physical aspects of attraction. It's very rampant in the beginning, but most people just get stuck there and they don't grow up from there. Is then it becomes a habit, because sometimes for like just young girls, it's almost uncontrollable. Or similarly for like young guys, I'm talking about very, very young guys, compared to when I studied in school versus young now might be very different. But in the beginning, there's that.
So there's also a hormonal thing that is going on, Harini, because I think a lot of our food has changed. And in a lot of countries in the world, starting with the milk, the hormones like estrogen comes into food. There are
Yeah, through all the dairy products.
So women are also maturing. They're getting into adulthood way earlier than they did
Earlier, yeah.
in the
Back in
past.
those days, yeah.
And for men, the the testosterone balance is getting messed up because of all the compounds that are coming from outside and all of the other things that now the active normalization of all the sexual activities, what it does is, including the self-pleasuring, what it does is it kind of disrupts the entire hormonal balance. Because for a male and a female, there is a difference. We are biologically different. Our nature is different, and the way we care, the way we show love, the way we respond to situations is different. And a lot of this is biochemically driven, and that's why you notice that when the biochemicals are off, like a girl starts developing mustache and stuff like that. So what happens is, when a female has chemical imbalance, you know it in terms of the cycles and other things. But when a male has biochemical imbalance, you don't know it so easily. But what happens is, a part of their man nature, like when there is a war, for example, in the recent days, the men are sent to war, the women are sent to protection. So there is a particular nature of a man that is biochemical, and when these hormones drop, they become low quality men. They're no longer high quality. And what happens is, now they get into the sexual routines that for each different things. And what happens is, it messes up with the balance even more. Like those who are into self-pleasure and stuff like that, the zinc goes down. The zinc goes down, and what happens is, it doesn't regulate the testosterone. So now, generally when testosterone grows up, a set of chemicals have to go along with it that makes them more manly. It's not just an individual compound. But now the zinc goes down because of what they're doing, and this individual biochemical is up. Now what they have is more sexual urges without the other manly features that come with increase in testosterone. There is more and more difficult for men to be high quality men. So what happens is that it's so surprising that, a lot of girls these days, they want a man they can train and they can control. And
Yeah.
and until you show them a picture of a high quality man, and because for a woman, they want to be in the presence of a man who makes them feel, who brings out the feminine aspect of them.
Yeah.
That is very, very important for a woman to enjoy and be happy in a marriage. When you meet a high quality man and that you like that person, your feminine nature of you automatically comes out. You suddenly find yourself, I'm not behaving like myself. What's going on? Well, good to you. You just met a guy who brings out that essence in you. So what's happening these days is the women are not meeting high quality men who bring out the feminine nature in them. So their only reference is the low quality men. And if you're going to meet a low quality man, as well get somebody you can control. That's the setup. That's like now you're looking based on, is it convenient? Do they have like the right job? Do they have this? Do they have that? But when you actually meet a high quality man, you forget all that because they're evoking. You go into a room and all the lights are turned off, and suddenly somebody came and turned on the lights. They're evoking something in you that as a female you never felt in a long time or never in your life. And in the presence of this man, in the conversations you're having, you're feeling, and they're evoking that in you. And suddenly you feel like, why is this person different?
Rana, how do you distinguish
Yeah.
the way you feel? Like, there's so many times a woman feels this way when she's in the company of a man who is wooing her or who's sweeping her off her feet, but may not be a man with the right intentions.
Yeah.
So, how does a woman discern or distinguish? And I'm talking about
It
probably
has,
the
it has to be a
younger ones.
combination of long term and immediacy. So, like, how do you feel right now? But how do you also feel long term about this person? What are this person's values? And a lot of times you can understand a lot about men by looking at how they are in their own family. Good men take care of their family.
Like, what's the narrative that they're weaving about their own life? Are they portraying themselves to be one who's oppressed and, and brought up in very difficult situations? Or there's like a blame game that they could be playing to win the sympathy of the girl? So, these are some traits that I've noticed commonly get women to fall for the man is the intention of, okay, let me be like a caregiver, let me give this person care that this person has never had in their life, because that's
So,
another
Hari, so the
instinct.
way I think about it is, I think there are two types of men. The one who is sweeping her off her feet, and generally the guys with the wrong intention who sweep her off her feet try to isolate them from their family and friends. And a lot of times you can find that if you're stopping talking to your friends or if you're not getting closer to your family, you know that you're with the wrong guy. But then I think I'm not only talking about a girl being attracted, or when I say feminine, the bring out the feminine nature, one of the most important thing is care. Is she becoming more caring to her family? Is she becoming more sensitive to the things at work, to her people? So I'm not talking about evoking the feminine nature just with this man, just with this person who is sweeping her off her feet. But when a female meets a high quality man, they often say, he's bringing out something in me, and that's not restricted to him. It's flowing into your family, it's flowing into goodness that you're doing outside.
Even better if it's also flowing into other aspects of your life, like you said, which is outside, including career.
Yeah, it's
Are they
flowing into
being
your
a
career.
distraction?
It's
Are
flowing
they
into your artistry.
Right.
Your life is getting better in that presence. So I think deceptive man also feels like the high quality man, but the difference is the deceptive man will isolate you from your family. You may stop having good relationship with your parents. You may stop having good relationship with your friends. You may start messing up your career. Those are immediate signs. It's the effect that the person is having. It's not your mistake. When a girl gets trapped into a man like that, it might feel like, oh, I did not put time into my career. But you need to know, if the person is sweeping you off your feet, everything that happens in your life is accountable. And we kind of know that intuitively. That's why
Yeah.
if you see, like, it doesn't matter how advanced the society is, when things go wrong, sometimes people blame their partner saying you are responsible. And so if the guy is sweeping you off your feet, he's responsible for everything that's happening. If you're messing up your career, he's probably messing up with your mind. He's probably playing a pull and push tactic that is not letting you to have peace. So we're not talking about that. And I thank you for bringing that up, because it could easily be charming guys or high quality guys. We're talking about a high quality guy bringing out from that girl, especially activating some feminine aspects of her, including some intuitions about design, about problem solving that women seem to have higher in certain areas than men have demonstrated. So when I say the feminine nature, I'm not just talking about going all out and falling in love, and I'm talking about there are certain things as a woman that she can do biologically better than a man is designed in most cases to do. So he's activating all the circuitry for her. He's drawing the best out of her. Although her parents and her well-wishers do that, there's something he's able to do because that male chemistry and that female chemistry is activating something in her and it's helping her excel. It's not degrading her. And I think that is something very, very, very desirable. So when people don't find that, they settle for the low quality men. And if they're already thinking about controlling that man and, like treating him like a dog, and that's their reference of a high quality relationship, then chances are they haven't met a high quality man. And now, what to do? They have to choose from the lot of dumb choices. They have to pick one. So the whole premise of the marriage is I'm not going for what I desire. I'm choosing from the lot that is presented to me. Let's say tomorrow is your birthday and you're going 5 minutes before the shop closes. You have to pick something from that shop. That's very different from I desire this person. Because what happens is when you desire and you're looking at a high quality partner, then suddenly you start asking yourself, what should I change to be desirable to this person? How do I have to be so that I am the best man or I'm the best woman for this man
Kind of a
or for
person.
this lady? Yeah, so
But I know there's also this narrative of, don't change and just be the way you are and let them accept you for who you are. You shouldn't have to change for a man and that
yeah.
kind of stuff as well.
That's a good narrative if you have not changed in the first place. Because your current version is already a changed version.
Yeah.
It was not who you were when you first got to adulthood. If you look back, it was not.
So you're anyway
You're
changing.
anyway changed. So maybe you're just dropping off all the bad layers. And that's why it's important also, Harni, to have choices. Because you become a high quality man or a high quality woman for the high quality man or woman you want to attract. And then you start opening the doors to 5, 6, 10, many people. And so now you could see with who you have like the minimal change where you're able to build the kind of life that you want to build, because it's okay to accept the fact that most people can't change who they are. Now, I know there's personal evolution science, and now we are showing that it's possible to change the very nature and you can desire to change.
And we're only looking at changes which are better for you
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
Not just, you're not changing because you want,
Yeah.
for the other person. You're changing for you.
Yeah. So one of the
Because
filter you can use is when you're looking at, what would that person want from me? And you could ask yourself that question, is that change good for me as an individual? Because a lot of times you'd notice what a high quality man or a high quality woman demands from the other person is actually a change that is good for you in the long run, that actually enhances you.
yeah, if you're like an angry person or a short-tempered person or doubting yourself or have like really low self-worth and things like that, and that's not a good thing, and they want you to change that, and that's a good change, not just for them or for the relationship, but for you first, right?
Yeah,
So
one example I have is like a girl came from a broken family and her mother and father were abusive to each other. Now, you got to drop that at some point in your life. You cannot be always whining about that. Which high quality man is going to want to deal with you dealing with him because of the way you saw your mother and father deal with them?
biggest excuse for both men and women is to hang on to a because.
Yeah.
A because I'm like this, because this happened, and so and so, and the because. Like, where is the ownership and responsibility for cutting off
Yeah.
from the unuseful patterns? Okay, well, some people have had a super privileged childhood, some people have had a difficult childhood, some people are dealing with parents being in a broken marriage or being raised single and all of that, and that may have had an impact at an age in the childhood where they didn't have choice or they didn't know better, but they're also now getting into adulthood, and from then on it's their responsibility what they do with their lives. And there's no point going into a blame game or a whiny zone of what the past was like, but instead look at what kind of a person do I want to be. I don't want to overcompensate nor undercompensate. I don't want to, like, because a lot of times I notice people tend to swing to the other extreme. Like, they've had a very strict father, so now they want to be the opposite of a strict father. They want to be like friend to their child, which is fine. Have a layer of friendship, but it doesn't mean
Don't
that.
lose a layer of parent.
Don't lose the layer of parenting. It's like, okay, maybe the level of strictness that your father had, if it was not ecological, that doesn't mean you bring it from 100 to 0 when it comes to you. You've got to do it at a more balance. So I think the responsibility to cut off from the unuseful patterns and the justification of why they think they may be
So
messed
at some
up.
point you got to reset and say, okay, now I take responsibility. Now I have an interesting thought for the viewers. What if everything we spoke until now is not about unmarried people? What if this is actually true for married people? What if you become the high quality man or the high quality woman for your partner? Do you think they would become the high quality man or the high quality woman? And I think yes, because we've seen a lot of couples who've transformed their marriages. So it's not like people are made of stone. They're it's not like the composition is fixed and written on stone. I think people change, and I think inside every person there is a high quality individual, because a lot of people could be thinking, yeah, if I had heard this while I was before I got married or while I was dating. But it's never too late to change anything. Like the marriage was literally at the door of the divorce. I like this phrase, at the door. I recently formed it. Like, there was people who came in there for the research, were people who were going for a surgery. So literally before they go to the surgery, we are stopping them at the door and we are saying, let's see if we can do something that can avoid the surgery for you. So I came with this phrase like at the door, like, it's about to happen. Like if you go inside the door, there's a surgery, you're literally catching them outside and saying, let's try this. And every single person we worked with, the surgery has been avoided.
Yeah.
And the doctors have attested that there's no need for a surgery.
I'm very excited
Yeah.
to publish this study because
soon.
I mean it's coming soon.
So, and now I formed this word like at the door. So literally there have been people, we stopped their divorce at the door. If they didn't meet us that day, the next day they were going to a divorce attorney to like sign their papers.
I know we've had so many people who come to us who've literally been at the door. Can you think of someone who literally is in the brink of this is not going to work out, and they came to you determined that like do something.
So I know this couple, and this girl actually dated somebody who made her feel like wonderful and great, and the pseudo version of the high quality man, and he broke her heart. And then she dated another man, same thing, not a high quality man, but someone who's super off the feet and low quality man, and again he broke her heart. And so she came to this conclusion in life that it is better to date somebody who's ordinary because they're not going to break the heart. So now when it's ordinary, she went to her parents and said, you yourself find some guy. And so because now it is ordinary, she had a checklist of this should be in place. This is the kind of family, this is the kind of business they should be in, and all of those things. So now she's already aiming for a low quality man who's not bringing anything out of her. And in that she has a checklist. And she marries and finds out all the checklist was a lie. So now, not only she settled for a low quality man, in the low quality man, the compromise, the things she wants, that also is not there. And a terrible marriage, and she's driving him mad. And he is not at all emotional. He's like to her, the most boring person he could ever.
But he's actually quite an
be.
empathetic guy. It's just that she didn't see it that way.
He's empathetic, but let's say he has a mathematical background, and that is the core of him. But the thing is, today they are the dream couple for each other. And one of the shifts that was necessary for her is to let go of the baggage. There is high quality man, there's low quality men, and then heartbreaking men that she had dated. So they come lowest in the ladder. So for her to realize that compared to the people she dated, she put on a high pedestal, that he's a better man.
Because he at least has his values in the right place.
Yeah.
He's a nice
and he's
person.
not going to lie and deceive you. And that was an important thing for her to realize. So now there was a window of, opportunity. The checklist that you brought in doesn't exist, but he's better than the people you met. He is going to be the high quality man that you want him to be, what kind of woman would he be expecting? Now, he's also settled. He's also compromised because he saw a lot of people and everybody rejected him, and finally he settled with you. But imagine he's not this guy and he's like a high quality man. The same person, the same guy. Imagine if he had the choice to date any women.
And he still picked you.
And if he still picked you,
What kind of a person?
What kind of a person would have he picked? Now, it's the same exercise we did with him as well. And then when we helped them develop those capabilities, those abilities, that core natural transformation, it took time. It took about a year and a half to 2.
Yeah.
But the immediate acceptance happened almost like within a week, because just the mindset for her to recognize that she's made a better choice than she's ever done in the past was relieving to her. Because in her head, she had done a big mistake. But the reality was she made a better choice than she ever did in her life. And for him, it's just about going from there to understanding emotions and, of course, fixing other personal gaps that he had, and for her to fix many other things for herself as well. So I think that was very interesting, because you would think that there's no way on earth that this
that
marriage
couple could survive
would work.
a marriage. Yeah, I remember that.
And interestingly,
They're
it
married
worked out.
and they have
Yeah.
children, and it's wonderful now.
Yeah. So, Harni, you wanted to talk about vitality as well, because
Yeah.
it's very important for the
Yeah, and I'm
marriage.
thinking a lot of times, whether it's the man or the woman, they know that when they show up at work, they better be in high performance to a high degree.
Nobody comes to a meeting going,
Yeah. Like they can't, right? Whether it's fear driven or whether they're
Passionate.
whether it's rule driven or they're passionate or they feel like, they have to do certain things in order for them to grow, or whether it's money that's driving them, whatever it is. When they wake up in the morning, they're doing what they're doing and they make sure they show up to office in a reasonably workable space where they can do something useful and productive and complete the day. But if vitality of people is suboptimal, what happens is when they're getting back home, and when I'm saying vitality, I'm also including not just the physical energy, because there
The
are a
mental
variety,
space
yeah,
and
the mental
availability.
space and emotional maturity as well. Because are they the kinds that would get stressed, hurt, let things pile up, or feel helpless and miserable, not being able to express all of these things? If they're unable to do at work, and if that kind of piles up, or they just don't have the high quality vitality, what happens is they bring the worst of themselves back home. I mean, how is that even fair or sensible? Because you're getting back to a very important aspect of your life, which is your partner and your marriage, and you want to be able to be a pleasant person and be lovely and interesting and enjoyable, and you want to be there for each other and comfort each other and do something fun, and let the rest of the evening, or even if it's very little time, for it to actually count, for it to be something delightful, rather than taking the worst of you back home and taking no responsibility for it. Because often when it happens from one side, the other person is dealing with it, is dealing with it, is dealing with it, and each one has their own coping
And then
mechanisms.
it becomes like a chicken and egg. It's like a self-inflicting pattern, because the other person is now not available when one person is available. One person is available, the other person is not available.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a fight, and then it becomes self-inflicting again. It just keeps going on a cycle
And
again
a lot
and
of
again.
times that the unconscious protection mechanisms kick in, is where a person unconsciously perceives that it may not be a healthy, useful space.
Yeah.
They'll either find themselves to isolate themselves, or they start to do things independently and not together anymore.
So not everybody can make themselves available every day, Harni. And I don't think you're referring to that.
Yeah.
The intent that when you're available, have high energy.
Right.
And even in a lot of married couples, a lot of times they cannot make the time every day. And sometimes they have to do it once a week. And there are some married couples who live apart, because of a business tour or something. They're sometimes months away. What you're really pointing at is when they come back and that moment of interaction, they have to come prepared, like the way they go for a meeting.
If they can put such high importance to that, then what about the meeting at home?
Yeah.
And it's possible that one can't do it every day, but one doesn't have to do it every day as long as the intent is there, because
And they
that
make the
intent
time for
also
it, and they
gets communicated.
prioritize it.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, when you go for a meeting, you have an outcome in mind. Like if it's a sales meeting, you want a particular closure.
Yeah.
If it's like a group discussion, you want a particular idea, you want to have certain plans, you want to come out with like a certain certainty and clarity.
Yeah.
So you have an expectation when you go for a meeting. how much more when you're going to meet your partner? What's your expectation? Do you want to like multiply your happiness, multiply the happiness of your partner? So when you go for that meeting, what is your agenda? Are you going there to blame for all the things that didn't happen the last week, the last month? Are you so when you're meeting this person, do you want to make them feel bad? Do you want to make them feel great? What is the outcome? What are you going towards? And a lot of times when you help couples and you find out that the pattern is they don't have time for each
Yeah.
other, and when they actually have time, they don't know what to do with that time. They're fighting instead of going with the agenda that is going to be the most magical experience or is going to be the most edifying. And edifying is different from blaming. Edifying is where you're building the person up. You're not saying things because you can't be controlled, you're uncontrollable. You're saying things because it builds the person up. So a lot of times edifying is coming from a good intent, and blaming is coming from a lack of choice. It's like you don't have any control or choice over yourself. So how much more each time you meet a person you want it to be better. And the other thing, I remember we did an experiment long time ago. This was with Hari and a group of people where our team used to work a lot during the initial days where they used to be in the events and be immersed. And they used to come, like, we had a set of 3 4 boys, like young men. And one of the experiment we did was, I think it happened coincidentally, and then we turned it into an experiment. We noticed that when they all slept in the same room, somehow the next day they kind of knew what happened in the day, even if they didn't consciously talk to each other. And now there are researchers showing that, when in the night when people sleep, even within our own body, apparently there are invisible light that communicates between one cell to another. So back then, our research was to check, is there some form of communication going on that's outside of just speaking and talking? And it was very interesting when we did this experiment, but people seem to communicate when they're sleeping, if they are in the same room. And these are just colleagues and in different beds. And I'm just thinking how much more the quality of communication when couples sleep together. And it's surprising that I could actually look at a couple and I could say, what is the quality of their sleep the previous night as a couple? And it's very interesting because when I find that couples are not spending quality time with each other in their sleep, I kind of ask them about their sleep, how they sleep. And it's interesting to know that most couples, a lot of couples are unable to, I'm just talking about sleep, like lying down and going to sleep in the bed. Couples are not able to do that. Like, they have no sync in the time they sleep, or in their sleep there's no harmony, because a lot of things happen in the sleep. They say that when sometimes babies are sick in a hospital and just born babies are sick, they just put the just born baby next to another just born baby who is healthy, and if medicines don't work, somehow something going on between these two babies is helping the sick baby to recover. So it's a practice in many countries where they take, if they're not able to save a baby, they put that baby with a healthy baby. And so there is a communication when people sleep. And you can actually watch couples and know, are they having a healthy communication or they have zero communication. I can spot that. When people come for a consultation, especially as a couple, I can look at them and I know last night when they were in the bed, when they were lying down, did they communicate and resolve the things, or have they cut off communication from each other? So what a lot of couples don't realize is they may come back from work, they may be tired, they may spend 5 minutes during the day, but they have at least 6 to 8 hours of quality communication time, and it's called sleep. And research is evidently showing more and more that 2 people in the same room communicate with each other when they sleep. And why wouldn't couples be communicating? And from the past consultations I have done for people, I'm very, very sure, maybe someday it will come with evidence in a scientific paper, but from my calibration, I'm very sure that couples who have healthy communication also communicate healthily during their sleep. You might talk less, but you kind of know what each other do. I remember a long time ago I was learning how to do touch healing because I was mirroring somebody modeling, and it one of the things that we were doing for fun. Like every now and then you and I learn so many fun things. And one of the things we're learning for fun is, can you put your hand on somebody and then the pain will stop? And knee pain, you put your hand, pain will stop. put your hand on someone's head, headache will stop. Now, it is very interesting that I was learning that, and my mother had headache, and I never told her that I'm learning to do this. It's just 3 days into me learning to do this, and when she had headache and we were both sleeping, I was sleeping that day with her, she just took my hand and put it in her head in the same posture that I put when I'm healing somebody's headache, and she was sleeping. So we communicate not always through words. And if two people are sleeping in the same bed, there is an intense communication that's going on, unless they have shut each other out. So if your quality of communication that you get when you have 5 minutes is high quality, you edify the person, you leave them as a better person, then when your everyday sleep is going to edify the other person and leave them as a better person.
Wow. That's
It's
really,
a
really powerful.
yeah. A lot of people think, oh, you spend more time at work. No, because you spend 8 hours at work and then you have dinner and you have this. You only spend like 1 hour with family. Not really. Families that sleep together are actually spending the entire night. It's high quality communication. We communicate as human beings. We cannot not communicate. It doesn't matter you're awake. It doesn't matter you're asleep. We've seen this in the ICUs. People are sedated. They don't respond to medicine. You talk to them, they respond better. People are sedated. The doctors are whispering the worst of the stories. They have proven that the outcomes in the surgery, the body response is different. So the brain doesn't matter. You're sleeping, you're sedated, you are always communicating. And I think couples really underutilize this time that they get to each other to sleep. There is closeness when couples sleep. And we're not talking about intimacy here. We're just talking about how close are they in their hearts when they are sleeping. A lot
Because
of
when that
couples
happens, you wake up with a very, very comforting,
fulfilled,
fulfilled
like
sleep.
you spend like a vacation with that person.
Yeah, I think it's great if everybody can have that intent
Yeah.
when they go to sleep, both the man and the woman. Then I think
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful because it's those hours of peaceful, high quality sleep that you're sharing with another person as well. So I think the amazing transfer
And
that
that's
happens
when
through that.
when we talk about when couples are married, it just gets better and better. The sleeping together is one of that aspect too. Is your closeness in your sleep getting closer and closer? Is your hearts connected every night when you sleep? And it's connected deeper and better. When you wake up, do you feel so fulfilled? You woke up feeling this connection. And I think if people can treat their marriage like that, any marriage can become an ideal marriage. And really, you will become the high quality person for the high quality person in your life.
If they're currently away from that, like if it doesn't feel like they can switch into it immediately, what does one do?
What I would recommend for the viewers today, before we wind up, is if you could just set that intent and become certain. Now, if I were to ask you what's 2 plus 2, that's a sunrise in the morning, you go, yeah, obviously, duh. If you can just have that certainty, just take a moment to just like let go of all thoughts, all distractions. And it doesn't matter if you have a life partner already or not. And it doesn't matter what the quality of it is. Think about, for you, what is a high quality partner? And just feel that certainty that in your life, you're going to have this highest quality, the highest quality partner for you. And have that certainty that your life is going to have, you will have the highest quality partner in your life. And as you be certain of it, just as certain, 2 plus 2 is 4, just as certain you become of this high quality partner, highest quality partner in your life, I also want you to set an intention that you are willing to become the highest quality partner yourself. Because as you do, you're going to find that as you evolve, as you become the highest quality partner for your partner or your dream partner, that your partner or your dream partner is going to come in your life or become in your life, if you already have a partner, to this dream partner. Because this is how personal evolution works, that when you change, people change. When you change, people notice you change. When you change, though they can't see it consciously, the right people come to you, and the right person in your life may become the right person. The right person in your life might become the best person you could have ever been with. And all this starts with you becoming certain that it's possible and having the intent that you're willing to evolve to be this person yourself.
The ANH Podcast.